Mark, thank you for your time as always. Back to winning ways last time out against Widnes.
Yeah.
What do you take from a performance like that going forward?
Yeah, we're really proud of how everyone went around the work, especially the defensive stuff. Different sort of game for us. I thought the opening 20 minutes it were very much set for set. Seeing who buckle first. And then obviously the last 20 minutes when we went down to 12 men especially, Widnes threw everything at us, so it was really pleasing to see how we handled that little bit of adversity too. And I think from a coaching point of view, the most pleasing thing is we'd spoke internally about a few fix-ups defensively that we wasn't too happy with at Featherstone, and it was pleasing to see that everyone bought into that and applied them fix-ups to how we went about as business then.
When a game gets a bit scrappy, you need a bit of guts in there as well. How reassuring is that from your perspective as a coach to see the characters out there to cope with that?
Yeah, I've never doubted that, the character. I think we're lucky that we've got a lot of guys with a lot of guts, and they're not scared of taking a bit of criticism when it's needed, and also they'll stand up when they need to be counted, and we definitely had that. If you look at some of them same lads, you had Geordie Thompson, Paul McShane that were doing 80 at middle. I thought Liam Harris led us around that field again great. I think Ollie Field's been a bit of an unsung hero in some of the stuff that he's come up with. Joe Brown and Bish, just key moments in key games, just diffusing situations that can soon turn ugly if you don't have that composure about you.
When a game threatens to turn scrappy like that, I suppose you mentioned some of those people there that you need to stand up and maybe call an audible sometimes in these situations. Yeah,
that's it. It's just about keeping your cool about you, making sure that you fall back to what you've been training as a team, having that faith in your teammates at the side of you, and then obviously just keeping faith in everyone and doing your job well, and then eventually if you do that, the tide turns and you get your turn to put the pressure on the opposition, don't you? And that's ultimately what sport's about. It's about working cohesively as a team, applying pressure, and seeing who wilts first. Considering
what this championship is like, it's possibly one of the toughest ever. Does that give you a bit of reassurance as well going forward to some of those scrappier games maybe?
Yeah, listen, it's a journey, isn't it, a season, and ultimately it's whoever learns the lessons quickest and puts them into practice over the course of the year that's going to be the most successful. So it is great fun to coaching. I'm sure it's great to play in. I'm sure in saying that it's great to watch for your neutral fan. It's just such a competitive league, and just really enjoying myself. Been some tough losses, some good wins, and that's beauty of sport, isn't it?
Well, looking at your squad ahead of this one, you mentioned Jude Ferreira was going for a scan on Monday. How's he doing then?
Yeah, Jude's got a torn ACL and cartilage damage, so he's looking at 9 months out on the sideline. So real big blow for Jude. I think, when he did it, there was no one around him. He's just stepped off his knee, and obviously that's blown out. So we'll get around him, we'll support him. He's in the best hands possible. We're sending him to the surgeon. I think he's got his appointment Thursday, and hopefully we'll be able to put a timeline in place from his operation to kind of reverse engineer it and see what he needs to be doing and when he needs to be doing it.
Most importantly, how is Jude in himself?
Yeah, he seems okay. Obviously, I think when you do injuries like that, you kind of know, you get a feel for it straight away. And when the physios did the laxity test, it was showing up no endpoint on his ACL, which is 9 out of 10 times a giveaway that you've got an inkling it's there. So I think he kind of got his head around it. And as I say, the main thing now is we support Jude. We make sure that he stays in and around the team, and we look after him in terms of his rehab and getting him back fully fit, ready to go again.
How tough is that for him as well? Because he had such a brilliant season at Hunslet last season, so he's gone from 100 to almost 0 in a way. So how tough is that for him mentally to deal with, do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And that's part of sport, unfortunately. You've just got to get your head around it and get on with it. And we're just starting to find his feet a bit with Jude. He'd come back into pre-season carrying a bit of a knock, and then once he got over that and got back up to speed, with where the rest of the squad were at, he was showing signs of what he can do. I think there were no doubt that Jude's going to make the step up to this level. It's just a bit of a cruel blow, but that's life sometimes, isn't it? And sometimes it's how you respond to them setbacks, and I'm sure he'll turn it into a positive and come back even stronger.
From your perspective as a coach, when you have somebody on the sidelines for so long like that, how do you like to try and keep them involved in the squad, keep them involved with everybody in that sense?
I think first and foremost it's just supporting them, making sure that themselves and the family are feeling supported by the club. After that, obviously, once they're over that acute stage of the rehab, making sure they're in and around the group, still, as silly as it sounds, getting that crack with the lads and all the stuff that you miss when you're not around it, and then drip feeding him back into parts of training that he can do when he can start doing it again, and just take it from there really. But the main thing is just supporting him and making sure that he feels he's getting everything he needs from the club and myself as head coach.
Looking at the rest of the squad for this week, how's everybody else looking?
Pretty much same as we were at last week, if I'm honest with you. The lads that didn't play are a week closer to getting the fitness back where they need to be. So I don't want to tempt fate, but touch wood, few sore bodies. It were a tough game in pretty hot conditions. So apart from that, we're all just looking forward to a trip down to London on Saturday and what's going to be another tough game. And you're in the thick of the season now. I think it's round 9 on Saturday, and these rounds are where it's really important that you start getting your groove and get kick into gear how you want to be playing. Come into that running at the end of the season all being well.
How close is Connor Fitzsimmons to being in a 17, do you think?
He was very unlucky last week. So Fitz is ready and firing, ready to go. So it's just a case of when he's selected, he'll be ready to go.
Jax O'Neill made his debut last week. How do you think he got on?
Yeah, good. It was a bit of a tricky one actually, because my plan were to put Jax on with Macca for 5-10 minutes, just so Macca could, guide him a little bit in terms of that transition. But we obviously went down to 12 men, so I had to leave Macca out there for his leadership. And Jack's out there too, so he'll be a lot better for it. I thought he did a couple of strong carries, a couple of big tackles, and it's always is what it is. He's been out for a long time. He looks really fit from a fitness point of view, your everyday fitness, but getting your rugby fitness back, unfortunately, there's only one way you get that, and that's playing minutes. So we need to be smart with him, not expect too much of him too soon, and it's probably wise to look at him a bit more objectively after 5 or 10 games.
He's one, like many that you said recently, been knocking on your door to get that game time. But has that helped to drive up standards in training, because you've got so many players now that are looking to make that step into the team? Oh,
100%. There's some real tough calls. Taylor Pemberton's been training really well. Jacob Gannon, Connor Fitzsimmons, who's you're on about, Joe Law. Brad Ward's back, Miles Harrison's back. Jack Teamby's knocking on door, and there's lads I've even not mentioned there, but they're what you've got to do as a coach. You're having private conversation with these people, telling them what you're looking at, what they need to do compared to the people that's in front of them, and we're lucky that we've got a real good set of professionals, and eventually everyone will get the chance. And as I said, the main thing is that whoever's playing the best and upholding them standards will keep the shirt. It's as simple as that. It's professional sport. We're not here just to hand out shirts for the sake of handing out shirts. You've got to earn that shirt. No one, and no one does here, by the way, but no one should think that a shirt's guaranteed to them, because they're not. You rent them every week, and you've got to make sure you pay that rent. And luckily we've got a squad that buy into that, and they work hard, and the lads that are in the squad will be, when they do get the chance, as long as everyone's fit, you'll know they've earned it.
Talk about Ben Jones-Bishop and how he's able to be that agile, age 36, starting in the corner like that.
Yeah, I know, it makes you sick, doesn't it? In my head I feel I can still move like that, but yeah, it probably looks a little bit worse. But yeah, Bish, when the opportunity came to sign Bish, I'd worked with Bish at Wakefield. I knew exactly what he was. I've admired him, from his Leeds Rhinos days. I always joke about it, saying he's a Rolls Royce of a winger, but he's just... he's such a good sight to watch when he's in full flow, good form like that, and it's not only what he's doing on the field, it's the advice that he can pass on to our younger generation as well. And you know, if you guys like Brad Ward, you know, and Miles and Joe Law and you know the other lads around that age, it's them little nuggets of information that he's got from playing, you know, 200-300 games at the top level, you know, playing in grand finals, big games like that. You know, that sort of experience you just can't rival. So he's a massive addition to our squad, and the best thing about Bish is he's so humble and unassuming. He'll just get on with his job, still goes chasing you know, them little gains in his game, and you know, that's why he's still about doing what he does at 36 years of age.
On to London then.
Yes.
A couple of wins for them this season, but looking at the matches, a lot of them are quite tight actually, aren't they, involving London Broncos this season, particularly at London. They've done quite well. So what are you expecting? Yeah,
listen, I know Mike well, and Mike's a fantastic coach. How he handled himself and his team handled themselves last year under some pretty difficult circumstances, I thought were great, and it showed you the character of the man. And you know, going on to this year with London, they've obviously had to cut the cough accordingly, but they've still got a lot of good players there. You know, if you look at some of them players that's in that 17, they've got a lot of Super League experience. We know they're going to be fit. Mike won't accept anything but a fit and hard-working team. We know they've got some strike out there, and we know they're not going to go away for 80 minutes. And as you've just said, they've obviously picked up some good wins at home. You know, I think Featherstone were a great scout for them, and they've been unlucky in a couple of others. And you know, we won't be going down there thinking it's going to be an easy game. At the end of the day, they'll be looking at us, you know, as a scout for them too, you know, to get their season up and running. So we're just going to make sure we focus on ourselves. We've looked at Widnes where we feel we've gone well, where we can improve, and you know, Mike will be doing the same with what they've done at Halifax, and where he feels that they can chase some gains there. So it'll be it'll be a tough physical game.
Just finally, it's a long journey down to London. How important is it from your perspective to get the preparation right? Because I've heard from some coaches in the past that the journey can almost beat you before you get to a game sometimes. I
think that's a bit of a weak excuse, if I'm honest with you. End of the day, you sat on a bus, you know, we'll have laptop out, watch a bit of Magic Weekend, don't wear down, as long as the signal's there, shall we say. It is what it is, isn't it? You know, like, you can use it as an excuse and say it's a long journey down. I think it's a bit of a cop-out by coaches trying to probably give themselves a bit of a safety net, you know, in case they don't get the win. I'd be very embarrassed if myself or any of my squad tried using a bus journey down to London as an excuse not to deliver, and I've probably recruited the wrong people if we are trying to blame a bus journey down to London for a reason why we can't play. In saying that, it's important that, you know, you prep it right in terms of we'll stop off on the way, we'll make sure we keep moving halfway down, get a good stretch, make sure your nutrition's right, your hydration's right, just do everything you can to make sure that, you know, you keep moving a bit. But at the end of the day, you sat on a bus with your teammates, going down to play a game of rugby league. What more can you want?
Could be worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Mash.
No problem.